Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Aura podcast. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today, I have a very special guest. I'm joined by Emily.
I'm
Emily, how are
good.
you
How are you
doing?
guys?
I'm good. I'm sure Ease is fine. So how's your summer been so far?
Pretty good. Just been working, wrestling, working out,
So
trying
it's
to
a
stay.
pretty
Yeah,
impactful
yeah,
summer for you. Is it always like that every
yeah.
year?
Pretty much. I stay at home because I live here, so year
Hmm.
round. So, pretty much the same every summer. Just working a summer job. Training. We do more normally about 2 or 3 days a week during the summer, and then just trying to get stronger with off-season
Of
training.
course. I mean, I'm not from Sault Ste. Marie, so I'm wondering like what's there to do in the summer? Or, like what do you like?
In the summer.
What do you do in the summer? Is like the beaches.
Yeah, so most of the time during the summer, that's when my friends come home. So they normally go away to their universities for school. So during the summer, I get to see them. So it's really nice. So yeah, we like to hang out here. We have lots of like little get-togethers. We like going to Harmony Beach up there, going to like the little Robertson's Cliff, do
Mhm.
some hiking, things like
Awesome,
that. Yeah.
awesome. So are you in your second or third year?
I'm going to my fourth.
Oh, so you're going into your fourth year. So you were
Yeah.
third year,
Uh,
and you're studying
Third year, yeah.
social work, right?
Yeah, social work.
How are you enjoying that right now?
I love it. So this year I get to go into my placement, so I get to actually have some real life experience with my degree, and get to actually use it for the first time. So it's going to be interesting, and I have been loving it. Been loving Algoma.
That's great. That's great. So are you planning into getting into the social work right after university?
Yeah, I was hoping to do my master's. So in order to do that, you need a little bit of work experience. So
Hmm.
hopefully out of school, I get a little job, get some more experience and then try and get my master's.
That's true. That's true. Are you planning to stay at Algoma for 5 years, or are you just doing your four and getting
So
experience?
the way that my program works, there's only 4 years
Oh,
you
okay,
can
okay.
really do, yeah, because it's placement the last year, so you can't really like extend that
Yeah.
too much. So just 4 years.
Oh, okay, okay. That makes sense. Well, I
Yeah,
want to get into some of your early days, your high school days,
sure.
because I actually found that very interesting. Um, I was reading a couple of articles, and well, I really want to know when you started wrestling, because I think wrestling is a big part of your life. So can you just
Yeah.
explain when you first got into wrestling?
Sure. So my current coach now, Trevor Manchester, he's a teacher at my old high school, which was Korah Collegiate.
Mhm.
So he was my math teacher my first semester of grade 9, which was the very first year of high school, very first day. And he pitched wrestling to me, told me about it, and really encouraged me to join the wrestling team. So that's where it kind of began. I wasn't very good. I weighed 103 pounds. I was very small, very skinny. But I tried it and I did not come back the next day because I was way too sore to even walk. But then the day after, I started wrestling and I loved it. Since then, I don't think I've gone more than a month without it. I can't.
You never had any wrestling experience before going into high
No,
school?
no, I
Wow.
didn't even play sports as a kid. Like I was
Oh, so
like
this was
that
all new to
awkward.
you.
Yeah, I was a
Yeah.
book kid. I didn't know anything about working out or sports. I just decided to try it because it was something new and turned out I ended up being good at it.
Well, I mean, for it to be like your first sport and getting into it just in high school, you've accomplished quite a bit of quite a bit of stuff in your high school days. You were a two-time OFSAA Silver Medalist. Can you tell us how was that like? Because I think anyone playing high school sports, I think OFSAA is something that a lot of people want to make, and the fact that you were back to back, it says
Yeah.
something. So can you just explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So for me, that moment was like that realization that, wow, I'm actually like not bad at this. So I was grade 11. I started training, got kind of good at it. And then I went to a cadet, or actually maybe it was juveniles. We went to like the provincial championships for clubs. So that's not high school. That's like outside of high school. And I
Mhm.
actually placed at that. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is getting serious. So I started doing outside of my high school training. I started doing training with Trevor. He was like the Algoma coach. So I started doing training with the Algoma team on the side, just trying to get better at wrestling at that point. And I came to the OFSAA championships, just trying to, do my best. And it's a pretty big tournament. There's 32 people in each bracket. Like, it's pretty competitive. And I won every single one of my matches in the semis and the quarterfinals, everything. And then I got to my gold medal match, and I didn't win, but I was very proud of how I did, and came back the next year.
How's that kind of like, again. You're grade 11, you're new to wrestling. Wow, I just got second. You're feeling excited. You're like, yeah, I lost, but I still got second for like wrestling since grade 9. But then to go do it again in grade 12, did you kind of feel a bit like, not again, like, how, were you still proud? Were you still proud of how far you came? Because you've only been wrestling for, well, back then, 4 years, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was a little bit obviously disappointed to not win, but I just tried to think about how grateful I was, how lucky I am to even be able to compete at all. So there was a little bit of disappointment, but I knew that I knew at that point in grade 12 that I was going into university. So I knew that my wrestling at least wasn't over at that point, and I got to wrestle some more. But I was super grateful, and it kind of like gave me a little bit of motivation to train harder, because you're never quite there. There's always room for improvement.
No, that's true. So after, obviously, high school, you had a pretty impressive resume. Going into university, did you want to go to Algoma, or were you also thinking about other schools as well?
Yeah, so of course I was considering all of my options. I was talking to coaches in all of the universities in Ontario, but the main thing that really attracted me to Algoma and staying home is both that they have a social work program, which is actually, it's hard to find a university that has both the social work program and wrestling. There's only a couple universities that offer that, both of them. So that was a really big factor for me. And also just being able to stay with a coach that I knew that I trusted, and I knew that I got along with well. So those were really big factors for me in choosing to stay here.
So that's true. So what about, like, you've been with your coach Manchester for a very long time. And you said that he was a key factor into making your choice to Algoma. How's that relationship with him? I think you've been with him probably almost 8 years now. How's that like with him?
Like a daughter father relationship. We have our ups and our downs, but no, all but love between us. He knows me better than I know myself when it comes to wrestling. He knows what moves I'm going to do, even if I don't. So it's nice to have somebody that can kind of understand how you think when it comes to wrestling, maybe not in life, but when it comes to wrestling, he knows exactly how I move and how I work best. So it's nice to have somebody that can understand that.
That's true. So it's always nice to have a coach and have a good relationship, because I think with that, it just pushes you and helps you accomplish greater things. So going into now your university career, so you're going into your 4th year, so you've had 3 years here at Algoma.
Yeah.
You've accomplished quite a bit again. So I kind of want to go on to this year. So first of all, I want to go back. How does wrestling kind of like work in the OUA? Because as I was doing some research, I was just seeing a lot of these like tournaments. Like there was like the York Open, Brock Open, and then OUA Champions. Can you just explain a bit how that kind of works?
Yeah, sure. So during the year, we have like tournaments that some of them are open, some of them are varsity only. Doesn't really mean anything. They kind of like are just like little tournaments to kind of see where people are at, let people compete, get some practice in. So those ones are kind of just like you medal at whatever, you go to the next one, you medal, not really meaning anything. So once we get to the OUA championships, each school is only allowed to enter, I believe it's 1 or 2 people per weight class. So then each team gets to have, they compete against each other, and then you compete for the championships. And then the top, I believe it's 2 or 3, go to the youth sports championships, which is the nationals where everybody in Canada gets to compete against each other. So the OUAs obviously mean a lot more than all the other tournaments. So it's kind of like the finales, I guess, of Ontario, and then the U Sports would be of Canada.
So is it kind of like a preparation? And when you get the OUA championship, it's like a one shot. Like
OUAs is like if you don't place top there, you can't even move on to the next tournament, which is U Sports. So it's kind of like a qualifier.
So top 8 goes to U Sports.
Yeah. So they have like I believe it's like a gold team or a second. I forget what it's called, but it's like the people who win first are on a certain level, and then the people who win second, and then they send those to U Sports to see how they do.
Well, this year, I mean, you've made consistent rankings throughout the opens. You got second at York, you got first at Brock, fifth at Western, second at Ryerson, and then you won the bronze at the McMaster Invitational. So it kind of seemed like you're off to a good start. You're very consistent. Could you explain going into the OUA championship how like you were feeling and how it turned out?
Sure. So actually this year I was not able to compete in the OUA championships just because I caught COVID. I think it was either the same week or the week before. So I did not have enough time to turn around and train for it, which really sucked. And I had like a bit of like soreness in my chest. So I wasn't able to compete, and it was hard. It was hard to train all year, for everything to come to a halt. And it was sad. And also this year, because of COVID, we didn't have a U Sports championships either. So it was like I missed out on everything. Everything was gone. But at least I have next year. But
that's true. Because I felt like this year when I was obviously doing some research and I was like looking at your placements, I was like, okay, everything's falling in line. And then I was looking at the OUA and then the U Sports. I was like, okay, I can't find it anywhere. This doesn't make sense to me. But at the end, I'm pretty sure you ranked 5th in U Sports.
So the rankings are based off of how we do against opponents and how we do at tournaments. So the rankings we use them kind of like as guessers or like predictors of like who would place at U Sports and like how people are ranked. But obviously this year we weren't able to have a U Sports, so it's hard to tell where people would line up. But I was pretty happy just being able to be top 6 in Canada for sure.
So how does that, like, obviously coming from Algoma, which is like a very small school, and I think when every team every athletic team that they have here going into like sports, I think we're always the underdogs. We're always trying to cause an upset. People aren't taking us. Some schools don't really take it seriously. But I mean, looking at how successful the wrestling team is, like, do you guys go into these competitions with people not really underestimating you guys, especially in 2019 when you guys were your men's team was nationally ranked? I'm pretty sure you were 4th ranked in the country. So for that team, I can't really underestimate you guys if I'm on another school, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Especially so that year where we had the men's team ranked, that was actually my first year of university. I was really just an underdog, just coming in from high school, just trying my best, really. And the men's team as well, they trained very hard. And they're just trying to defy the odds, really. Like, we are at a unique location because we're in a northern, more isolated community, where Southern Ontario, they get to meet up, have these little competitions, get to train against each other because they're, only an hour, 2 hours away from each other. Whereas when we travel for tournaments, we're 8 hours away driving.
That's
so
true.
It's a bit of a difference. It's a whole weekend that we have to dedicate to going down there, having these tournaments where they can sleep in their bed the night before and then go to these tournaments and then go home. So we are at a bit of a disadvantage, but that just makes us work harder and makes it a lot more worth it when we do place.
Do you enjoy those long bus rides, or you hate them?
We actually take like vehicles, so like cars and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets a little bit tiring after every single weekend for a month straight.
That's true. Well, going into I'm pretty sure you also won the 2020 bronze OUA medal. I'm not mistaken. I could be.
Oh yeah, was it 2019 or 2020? Yeah,
I think it was in that season.
Yeah.
So can you tell? I just want to know your reaction to your first year. You're a medalist. How are you feeling?
Yeah, that was yeah, it was a mixed feeling because obviously I wanted to do better, but coming from first year, I was pretty happy with my accomplishments. You know, I was going against people who were a lot older than me. I was 18 at the time, and I had girls in my weight class who were 27. Like, so there was like a bit of an intimidation factor because I'd never competed against people who were wrestling for that long. But I was just happy to be there, happy to compete, and really happy to represent Algoma and get a bronze medal as a first year, really.
Do you have to I'm just curious, like
Mhm.
when it comes to wrestling in the OUA level and U Sports level, do you guys have to cut weight?
Yep. So we have like certain weight classes, and normally during the year, you know, for like the York Open, those type of tournaments, we are given a weight allowance. So like we don't have to cut as much, or we don't have to cut weight for them. But when we go to tournaments that are more serious, like the OUA championships, if you're not exactly what your weight class is to the T, then you don't make weight. So it involves a lot of sweating, a
Yeah.
lot of water weight math, if you will. But it's not that bad after it's over, but it's definitely not fun while it's going
Yeah, it
on.
seems like a draining process because I'm a big
Yeah.
UFC fan. And I see everyone cut weight and stuff, and I'm thinking, you know, that's hard. That's hard. All the sweat, just everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly I don't know how you guys do it all the time. I mean, are you happy, you know, when it's all said and done that you'll never have to cut
Oh yeah.
weight or
Yeah, definitely that feeling of having the first Gatorade or the first sip of water when you step off the scale is the best feeling ever. Um, but yeah, it's just mostly a mental game, honestly. It's barely physical for me. It's mostly mental because you're trying to push against your body really and getting those like extra droplets of sweat out just to make weight or just to get that little bit of water weight
how
off.
long do you usually give yourself to cut weight? Do you give yourself like a week, 2 weeks? How long do you usually give yourself when you have to cut weight?
Yeah, so depends on how big your cut would
Hmm.
be. If it's just like a little, which is normally what I do, just a little bit of water weight, that's normally just sweat. So that can be done within a couple of hours. That you just sweat out like in a sauna or like running around. But if you are doing a more serious cut where you're losing maybe 10, 15 pounds, maybe more, that would be, you would involve obviously your diet and kind of trying to restrict your food into like a slow but like still healthy
Yeah.
process. So you're not trying to starve yourself, but you're also trying to just slowly cut down your calories so you're able to make that weight.
Yeah, no, it looks like a very gruesome I don't know why I don't know why we still have that,
Yeah,
but
especially before you're competing, it's not
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm
fun.
saying. Do you guys do? So do you guys weigh in the day before and then the next day?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I never understood that.
Yeah,
So I
it's
mean,
difficult.
going into obviously, so 2019, 2020, your debut season, it was to me it seemed like a great season for you. And then this year, still consistent rankings. Obviously, had COVID, which is it was unfortunate, but
Mhm.
you still were able to get some good rankings. But individually at Algoma, you've again you've won a lot. You got Thunderbird of the Week, 2 time Thunderbird of the Month, U Sports Academic All Canadian, OUA All Academic Award, Wrestling MVP, and you won the Female Athlete of the Year. So congratulations to that. But tell me, how are you feeling after winning, you know, all of that?
I mean, I was very surprised when I came. I went in there not thinking I was going to win half of those awards. I didn't even know some of them even existed. So I was very, very grateful. Just grateful also for my coach. He advocates for me to the school, and he advocates for me just in general for wrestling. So just super grateful for my coaches, my fellow training partners. Yeah, I don't know what else to say because I was just so shocked by it. I didn't even think it was going to happen. But obviously just super grateful that I got some recognition and that my team and my sport also got some recognition for it.
No, that's true, especially because I feel like wrestling and well, obviously because I'm not too aware, but to me, just by doing some research and trying to figure out, I don't think it's as like open and
Yeah.
like easily like accessible as like other sports.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't think just anyone can join, because I mean, if you're gonna join, you have to be pretty decent, or you're just gonna get thrown around. So I mean, how? So obviously you're feeling great, and you won all this. Like, what's next? What's next for your last year here at Algoma in the wrestling program? Are you trying to go all out to get that first top three? What's the plan next year?
Yeah, so I want to win. Like, that's it. This is my last kind of go at wrestling. Unless I find a program for my master's that I'm able to compete in, then I will try. But honestly, this is my last go. So it's everything or nothing at this point. So just trying my best, honestly, this off season. I've been training really hard. I've been starting weightlifting. I started maybe 2 years ago, like seriously getting into it. And I've noticed a big difference with strength training. So yeah, this year is the easy. It's either this or nothing. So yeah, we're definitely trying to win gold at all tournaments if possible, but we'll see what happens.
So I mean, is it a very intense? Is this going to be a very intense off season and preseason going into this year? Are you really just trying to push yourself and just? I mean, I'm hopefully you get that gold.
Yeah, for sure. I also started doing on top of wrestling jiu-jitsu actually just to try and sharpen my grappling, my grip strength, my reaction times. So I've been doing that with Steel City MMA, just trying to do some extra training, get some extra partners, because here in Sault Ste. Marie, we're kind of limited for the amount of training
Yeah.
partners and the amount of people who wrestle here. So it's nice to kind of also do another sport to kind of like get some more people just to move around with. So
So yeah. So I'm assuming wrestling's kind of just open the door to other sort of fighting
yeah.
styles, and I mean, I'm happy that you're picking all this up. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what do you plan on obviously if you don't do your masters, obviously that year of eligibility it won't happen, but do
Mm-hmm.
you see yourself still doing something with wrestling after university?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right now in my spare time during the season, I like to help coach my old high school, which was Korah. I just like to help out with them, work with some athletes. But obviously, in the future, I would love to help out with coaching, maybe part time, and just give back to the community because Sault Ste. Marie has such a small wrestling community, and I think it could really be built to be something good because we've had a lot of good wrestlers come out of our programs. So I think that, just giving back and helping to train more athletes would be awesome.
Do you think that you being a very successful female athlete here at Algoma and in the wrestling, do you think are you trying to see more opportunities for like these female athletes and trying to advocate for wrestling? Because again, you started in grade 9. There's probably people who you wrestled against who've probably done it their whole life. So is that something you're trying to push for?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I love seeing young female athletes get after it and really try and chase their dreams because it's not impossible here. I know a lot of people think that we're at such a big disadvantage, which we are, but there are still ways that we can really get recognized in this sport and try and win and try and place. And I think that with the right coaches, the right opportunities, we can really grow especially the women's program here, but just the wrestling programs in
That's
general.
yeah, that's amazing. How's it like training with? I know there's some newer female athletes coming in. Did you have that when you came to Algoma? Did you have older women that you can look up to, or was it just really the guys and I mean yourself?
Yeah, so my first year, it was me and then one other girl. She wasn't really as consistent, but she still showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So it was mostly just me and a bunch of older guys, but it was good. They took me under their wing and they really pushed me really hard when it came to training. I had Brody as my training partner my first year, and he was awesome. He was a little bit bigger than me, but not quite. So he was like a smaller male on the team, and it was perfect for me because he was able to just push me around without being too big, and it really helped my growth as a wrestler. Honestly, just being able to have somebody that can be a little bit quicker than you, a little bit stronger than you, just gives you something to work for and gives you something to, kind of aspire to be.
So you're hoping that, when you're gone, these next upcoming female athletes can try to not necessarily, not do as worse, but maybe do better, even come close to you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know they have their own style, their own wrestling, and their own qualities that are going to help them be excellent leaders. I think they're a really good group of girls, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. Yeah, I'm really proud of how they've done this season, so I'm really, really excited to see.
Well, before we wrap it up, I just want to ask you, after Algoma, when it's all said and done, whatever you place next year, do you think that you gave it your all and that you left it all on the mat and then you'll walk away with no regrets?
I don't know if I'll walk away with no regrets, but for sure I'll feel like I did make a big difference in the wrestling community, and that I did make a big difference in, the people that I've taught, the people that I've worked with. But for sure, I'll always feel like I could have done better, for sure. That's a competitor in me.
Yeah.
I'm always just a little bit critical on myself because I know I can always do better. So
obviously you set the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming.
Yeah.
And I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me.